Skull friends. So one of the biggest things has happened recently, and that is me hitting 200 subscribers. I'm actually a little bit over 200 subscribers last time I checked. So I really want to take a second to appreciate you guys and the effort you guys are putting into watching my stuff, subscribing, and helping me kind of get my voice out there. I've never really gotten this far with content creation, and all my other projects have kind of fallen flat. So this is my first successful project. So I really want to say, first off, I appreciate you guys, and I look forward to providing you guys with enough content for years to come. So let's get to the hot topic of this right now, and that's what's happening next. And we're talking about Mortal Online 2 here. What's happening next? What is really our end goal for all this? Other than saying, like, our end goal is having a successful server and a successful game and all this other stuff. We're sitting right now in temporary servers, which are going to be pulled out from underneath us, and they're also lacking some features that are going to be added later. But once again, I'm going to repeat, they're pulling out from underneath us, and we're going to be going to the big main server. Now, they're fixing on a lot of the queue issues, and they're trying to work on it. I'll give them some props. They're doing their best, and at least we can play now. I do have some issues with the development team basically dying on the hill of one whole single server. It's very hard to do, and I don't know how they're going to pull it off, and I don't understand why they're not just creating things like EU servers or NA servers, but this is just my opinion. I'm not the game developer, nor am I the one who's, dedicating money to different factors in development of the game. So I have no say other than the fact that I'm just a paying customer and I want to complain. At the end of the day, this is their vision, and we can either choose whether or not to stick with it or leave. That's really it. That's it. 100%. We can choose to stick with it or leave. We can complain about it. I know there were some guys in a Reddit post one time saying that they were doing a class action lawsuit against StarVault. I know a lot of people have really high tensions about this, but look, it's getting done. Things are getting fixed. And that's the positivity I want to kind of latch on, right? It's going to get done. If we sit here and think that they're just going to crash and burn, the game is going to turn out like Mortal Online 1. Now, on the topic of Mortal Online 1, they really kind of died. The population is pretty terrible. They went from probably about 1,000 people, and I'm probably going to display this in edit, and they dropped down over the years to absolutely no one. There is no one playing that game. And then they went to make Mortal Online 2, which is going to be their next big swing, right? And this population's actually, pretty booming. There's a lot of active players on it, and there's a lot of people trying to get into the queues and stuff. So I understand, like, this is a big thing, and they're working hard on it, but this game is actually becoming somewhat successful. Yeah, it's got mixed reviews on Steam, but let's just kind of put that aside for now because a lot of it has to do with either development being clueless at what they're doing and queue issues. A lot of games suffer from an impactful, shitty launch, and I can use one as example is No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky suffered very, very, very much on their initial launch. It was a bad game. It was lacking a lot of features, but now, years down the road, the game is actually pretty good. It's got a lot of exciting facets of the game that were not introduced in launch, and a lot of things that were promised are still not coming to effect. But they actually pulled themselves out of the hole. That's the whole point of here is like, what's happening next? What's our next steps? What are some things that we can do as a community? And what are some things that the developers can do to actually pull themselves out of the hole? I do want to point out that I do believe that Mortal Online 2 is still in a hole and will be in a hole for a while until they can actually prompt themselves with some new content. They can pull themselves out with this queue garbage, and then they can actually get the ball rolling to get this community kind of, the blood flowing of everything. Let's take another example, Starbase. It was a game I was hyped for many years, and I tried to get in 2019, but they ended up delaying it multiple times. And then when they released some crappy version of an easy build to help build people's ships in a more modular way right on release date, which ended up breaking a lot of people's ships. And it made you really unable to play the game. There was nothing you can do. Easy build mode was terrible. And it caused a huge drop in the population, as well as a lot of people who were playing in alpha were like, yo, this is garbage, I'm leaving. And now look at the population, right? Starbase's population is suffering very, very hard. The Discord is absolutely chaotic and just breaking down at an every day's notice. There's a lot of shit going on in game with griefing and a lot of people just going absolutely ham on new players. And it looks like the game is really just crippled. It's crippled, it's falling apart, and it's just sunk. At this point, the water has breached the hull, and it is just sinking. There is no saving it, there's no patching the holes. But a lot of people can argue, yeah, there is a way to save it. And that's what I kind of want to touch on is like, what are things developers can do to save it? Initially, after all the garbage had blown away from their shitty launch, and I think it only took like a month and a half to actually settle that dust, they came out with a test server, right? They scrapped almost all of their roadmap. The roadmap was supposed to happen in September, October, and November, but then the roadmap still has not happened. Instead, it's been pushed to their test servers, and their test servers are now available. And that's a huge problem, right? You have these developers coming out with these games without any sort of testing, no QA, no, player testing, no true alphas, and they're not learning anything from it. They're not gathering data. So once they release these games, they're terrible. So Frozen Byte creates this test server way after their launch to try to fix their issues, and they're still suffering from it. They're still not pushing stuff forward with their roadmap. I mean, yeah, sure, they're checking it off and saying it's in the test server, but is that really hitting their deadline when it was back in September, October, November? No. And it makes you kind of wonder with things with Star Vault is there is no testing. It's just whatever the players find and report as bugs, they try to fix. When you deal with things like different types of exploits, duping, glitches, people going through walls, people falling through the floors, items disappearing, horses disappearing, stuff like that, it only just immediately goes to the GMs and they fix it. The thing is, they weren't testing those out. So as soon as you find it, they either may know about the bug and they're trying to fix it, or they never knew in the first place and they're struggling to fix it. But Star Vault should definitely take a kind of look around at all their games that have launched during this time, or at least previously, and decide what they're going to do with the game. Are they going to still fight on this hill for a single server? Or are they going to split them up into multiple servers, like I said before, with an EU or an NA server? So it just really kind of makes you think of the different things that you can do to kind of save your game. I could start mentioning others as just having a QA team, testing stuff out, having a test server. That's just a step in the right direction. And I know I shit on Frozen Byte, the developers of Starbase, for putting in a test server, but they put it in a test server late, and at least they're doing it. All right, I'll give them a little bit of credit. At least they're doing it. Star Vault needs to kind of take that and go with it. They need to be able to divvy their resources to be able to test out new features that they add, because otherwise when they add new features, they're just going to suffer. Things are going to break. Look at Star Citizen, where every time they add something new from their roadmap, it completely breaks the game. I dealt with multiple of these patches and new updates where I'd fall through the floors, die from the stairwell. I mean, we even had jokes where you weren't allowed to go upstairs. Like if you ran upstairs, you'd die. It would just eat your ankles and you'd die. Once they added persistent inventories where you could actually drop your inventory on death, people were dying left and right within star hangars and shit, and they were just dropping all their stuff on the floor. So now people fly naked. They fly naked so they don't lose anything. It's kind of startling, like the things that aren't tested out, right? Just they break games. So what's going to happen when things like necromancy, things like new bosses, new world pieces and stuff are added? They're just going to be added. They're not going to be tested out. And yeah, sure, some of this might have been an alpha and they're going to just be porting it over and it might have been fully tested from the players. But we do know, and a lot of the community parrots this, that the players are the testers. Give us a test server. Let us kind of run through this stuff. Allow us to break the game so that way we can fix it for the future people who want to play. Because otherwise you're going to get people in the community with a new update when you blast it on Steam and they're going to join and something's going to be broken. And guess what? That leaves a bad review on Steam or whatever site. That might make someone make a YouTube video where they're talking about how broken the game is. Honestly, it could be a lot of bad PR. And you don't want that for your game. You want your game to flourish, and right now the population for Mortal Online 2 is doing very well, but you want the game to continue to grow. You don't want to settle with an MMO that's just going to die in population until you end up with the 100 people that Mortal Online 1 had. You want your game to get bigger. Another topic I could talk about having your game survive through this, survive through the massive players, and survive through the bad PR is you have to bolster your community. You have to set some sort of standard for your community. And this is something I'm working on personally. You have to really work with the community to make a welcoming game. I know as soon as people were allowed into the alt servers and there was new players coming out of the gate into the new cities, they were just getting capped immediately and killed. That's just how it's going to go. And I understand that there's rules that allow it, but With new players, when they come into the game, that's the last thing that they want to see. When someone's not used to the community, and then they get a good welcome message of being fucking killed. Do you really want that for your game? Do you really want people pushing out other players, other new players for your game? Because this is kind of the standard that I see other guilds doing, is they don't want new players. They just want to stick with their veterans. They just want to stick with the people they know, and they want to do their best at griefing smaller players out of the game. They'll do their best to spawn camp. They'll do their best just to make them miserable. Between any sort of toxicity over the mic and chat, and just in-game mechanics and utilizing those. Do you really want your community emulating that? For me, no. I don't want Mortal Online 2 to be a cesspool of toxicity. We're better than League of Legends, and we're better than Dota. We're better than a lot of other games out there that are just absolutely crappy. So we need to do our best as a community. And this sticks generally for me, like I said. Within my guild, my community, I've been building up a group of like-minded, positive people. And I'm also reaching out to other guilds. And I'm trying to do my best to rope everyone in and say, look, this is our standard for the community. We don't support toxicity. We don't support this or that. And yeah, sure, I've been laughed at a few guilds, but otherwise, people are actually accepting of this. They want to see a better game. They want to see this game be a really good MMO from a small group of developers. So it kind of makes you think, like, what do you want your game to be at the end? If you're one of those players that just really enjoy spawn camping new players because it's funny, if you love just being absolutely toxic in the game, like, what is your agenda? If your agenda is just to make someone miserable, really, is that benefiting anyone but yourself? Are you just a selfish prick? Like, what is the end goal? I really kind of want to know that mindset, because for me, no, I haven't been spawn camped and I've been left alone. I travel in a pack and I'm pretty smart about it. But for everyone else who's experiencing it, why do you have to make new players miserable? Is this the community that we want to emulate? I keep asking that, right? Is this the community we want? At the end of the day, when you log out, you want to be happy about the group that you have around you. Yeah, there's going to be bad apples in the game. It's the fucking internet, right? Shit happens. There's a lot of bad people on the internet. But do you really want to make a house for them within Mortal Online 2's community? Do you want to allow them to have that? And I can safely say that there's a lot of people who don't accept that. But for the people who do, for the guilds that house those kinds of people, the guilds that really just kind of bolster that toxic gameplay, why? What is your end goal? If you want people to leave the community, you will watch the population steadily decline and the game die. Because without that subscription, without new players coming in, the game no longer has any monetary flow, and the game will die. If you are going to say that every time you kill someone and kick them out of the game, by spawn camping, by screeching over the mic, by sending them death threats over their messages, right? If you're going to say every time they leave, you'll purchase an account, maybe you can make up for the different types of people you push out of the game. But just think for a moment. What happens when 100 players leave? What happens when they were no longer given a welcoming community to enter? That's 100 subscriptions. And God forbid if they spent 2 hours and they get a refund, or they somehow appeal for a refund and they get it. That's more money out of StarVault's pocket. The more you spend making people miserable, the more you spend harboring a negative community. A community that says, fuck you pussy, get used to it. This is Mortal Online. The more you harbor that is the less financial gain StarVault will get. It's an investment. You have to treat every person in that game like an investment to the game. Yeah, sure, we go against PKers, RPKers all the time. You have to treat it like an investment, though. At the end of the day, we utilize mechanics and we beat someone in combat. Good. We did it. Yeah, they might have been rude over the mic or something, but that's normal because it's the internet, right? You're never going to have all good people in one place. But we never did anything toxic to push people out. We allowed them to go along with their life. And you could say I'm being preachy, right? You can say it because someone already told me that you're being highly fucking preachy. Guess what? I am being preachy. This is how You set a community standard. You get together with others. You find like minded people and you set a standard. You tell them what you do and do not accept. Because at the end of the day, you need that monetary flow getting to Star Vault's pockets to be able to upkeep the game, keep the servers running, and give you what you want. Without that, you will get no updates. Without that, you will get no fixes. Without that, you will get no added content. Nothing. The dream will not be realized unless there is a clear stream of money. It just makes you think, what are things you can do to improve the game as a player? And then as a developer, set standards, meet those standards, do your best to support the community. As a developer, do your best to be transparent. Push things forward that you know the players want and need. And yeah, sure, you might have a vision, but sometimes you need to step down from it when it's too difficult to achieve, and maybe approach it at a later time. This game can be very successful. You just need to realize it, realize its potential, and move forward. If you guys are out there and you've given this game a chance and it's very difficult for you, or you're not liking the brothers and sisters that you're around, let me know. I leave my Discord in the comments below. You can also message me. I'll be happy to help you out. That's what I want to do. Consider me a content creator for Mortal Online. This is what I'm going to do for you guys. I will help you to the best of my ability. And I'll get pushback, of course. People are going to come and try to kill me and my whole group. It'll happen. It's the mechanics. And I await you guys. We'll see you on the battlefield. But until then, if you guys need help, let me know. I'll be your big brother. We'll do this together, and we'll get through it. Let's make a good community, and let's be strong together. Anyways, guys, I'm Solar Polar Bear. Stay humble, stay frosty.